They say you never really know someone until money's on the table. I learned that watching my wife climb onto her boss's shoulders at a company pool party and scream about real men while 50 people watched. What she didn't know, I was recording. What I found after: $7,000 missing, a condo in the Bahamas, and our daughter's video of a parking lot kiss that happened a week earlier. My wife thought she was building her career. I was building a case. My name is Trevor Hammond. I'm 43 years old, and I've spent the last 18 years married to a woman who stopped seeing me as a partner somewhere around year 12. I'm a forensic accountant, the kind of guy companies call when numbers don't add up and someone needs to find out why. I analyze patterns, spot inconsistencies, document evidence. It's methodical work, boring to most people, but it taught me something valuable. The truth always leaves a trail. You just have to know where to look. Diane, my wife, is 41. For the past 7 years, she's been operations director at Bridgeport Logistics, a mid-sized freight and distribution company based in Stamford, Connecticut. She clawed her way up from a coordinator position, working nights, weekends, taking every certification course they offered. I supported her completely, moved twice when she needed to be closer to regional hubs, covered the home front when she traveled, never complained when dinner became microwaved leftovers 3 nights a week. Our daughter Sophia just started her freshman year at UConn. She's 18, studying business administration, probably because she watched her mother navigate corporate politics like a chess grandmaster. Our son Lucas is 16, a sophomore at the local high school, more interested in gaming tournaments than his mother's career trajectory. Good kid, keeps his head down, makes decent grades. The pool party was Diane's idea, or rather, her boss Craig's idea that she sold to me like it was hers. Craig Ward, VP of Logistics, 45 years old, spray tan, expensive watch, the kind of executive who calls everyone buddy because he can't remember their actual names. He decided the entire operations department needed a team-building experience at his McMansion in Darien. Translation: he wanted to show off his infinity pool and make everyone feel grateful for the privilege of working under him. Diane insisted I come. She actually used those words. You need to be there, Trevor. It's important they see I have a stable home base. Like I was furniture, a prop in her professional theater. So I went. Polo shirt, khaki shorts, a 6-pack of craft beer nobody would drink, because Craig's bar was stocked with top-shelf everything. I shook hands with people whose names I forget in an hour. Made small talk with Craig's wife Laura, an event planner who seemed perpetually exhausted by her husband's need for attention. She handed me a margarita I didn't want and gestured toward the pool with a tight smile that said she'd rather be anywhere else. That's when I saw them. Diane was in the pool, water up to her chest, laughing at something Craig said. He was standing right next to her, close enough that their shoulders touched when the water moved. Then he crouched down, and before I could process what was happening, my wife climbed onto his shoulders. Her hands gripped his head for balance, her thighs locked around his neck, and he stood up with a theatrical grunt like he was lifting a championship trophy. The crowd around the pool erupted, cheering, whistling, phones coming out to capture the moment. Diane threw her hands in the air, riding high above everyone, her swimsuit dripping, her face lit up with the kind of joy I hadn't seen in years. Not when Sophia got accepted to college. Not when Lucas won his robotics competition. This was different. This was dominance. And then she screamed it, voice clear, carrying across the entire backyard, over the music, over the splashing, over everything. My real man can handle me. Every head turned, some toward her, some toward me. I was standing 12 feet away, holding a plastic cup of watered-down beer and a smile that probably looked like a stroke. Craig's wife Laura went rigid near the grill, her face draining of color. A few people laughed nervously. Most just looked away, suddenly fascinated by the potato salad. I didn't move, didn't shout, didn't storm over and yank her down like some jealous fool. I just raised my cup slightly, like I was toasting the circus. Then I stepped back behind the hedge by the lounge chairs, pulled out my phone, and hit record. Because while Diane was screaming about her real man, I was already thinking in terms of evidence, language, optics, and policy. 18 years of marriage will either make you reactive or strategic. I chose the latter. The party continued for another 2 hours. I stayed, played the role of supportive husband, nodded at small talk, kept my phone in my pocket with the video safely stored. Diane eventually climbed down from Craig's shoulders, dripping wet and breathless, accepting high fives like she'd just won Employee of the Year. She didn't look at me once. Not when she grabbed a towel from Laura, not when she posed for photos with the regional managers, not when she huddled with Craig by the bar, their heads close together, laughing about something I wasn't part of. Laura, Craig's wife, found me near the dessert table. She handed me a slice of key lime pie I didn't ask for and said quietly, "You handled that well." I looked at her. "Did I?" She replied, "Better than I would have. Better than I have." Then she walked away before I could ask what she meant. By the time we left, Diane was buzzed. Not falling down drunk, just loose enough that her filter had completely dissolved. She climbed in the passenger seat of our Camry, adjusted the rearview mirror to check her makeup, and let out a satisfied sigh. Diane said, "God, that was fun. Did you see everyone's faces when Craig lifted me up?" Rick from accounting looked like he was going to have a heart attack. I started the car, pulled out of Craig's circular driveway. "Yeah, I saw." She continued, "Craig's such a goofball. He was joking all night about how I'm the only one who can keep up with him. You know what he said? He said I should run for VP next cycle. Can you believe that?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. "Is that something you're interested in?" Diane turned to me, eyes bright, even in the dim light from the dashboard. "Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? This is what I've been working toward, Trevor. You know that." I nodded slowly. "Right. And climbing on your boss's shoulders in a pool, that's part of the strategy." Her expression shifted. Not guilty, just annoyed. "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. It was a party. Everyone was having fun. You're not going to get all weird about this, are you?" I replied, "Weird? No. Just try and understand the optics." Diane said, "Optics? Jesus, Trevor, you sound like you're auditing me." It was harmless. Craig's married. Laura was right there. It's not like we were sneaking off into a bedroom. I didn't respond. Just focus on the road, hands at 10 and 2, breathing steady. The silence stretched between us, heavy and uncomfortable. She stared at me for a few seconds, then turned away, pulling out her phone to scroll through the photos people were already posting on the company's internal social feed. Diane muttered, "You're being ridiculous." I said nothing, because I wasn't being ridiculous. I was being observant. And what I'd observed tonight wasn't harmless fun. It was a line crossed, publicly, with witnesses and video evidence. She just didn't know I had it yet. When we pulled into our driveway, Diane got out without waiting for me, heels in hand, tote bag slung over her shoulder. She went straight inside, up to the bedroom, didn't say goodnight. I sat in the car for a few minutes, engine off, listening to the ticking sound of cooling metal. Then I pulled out my phone and watched the video again. 32 seconds. Crystal clear audio. Her voice, Craig's hands, the crowd's reaction. Everything I needed. I didn't send it anywhere. Not yet. I just saved it to a private folder and labeled it August 14th event footage. Because timing, I'd learned in my career, was everything. The next morning, Diane was already gone when I woke up. No note, no text, just the faint smell of her perfume lingering in the bedroom and an empty coffee mug in the sink. She'd left early before, but never without at least a quick goodbye. This felt different. Intentional. I made breakfast for Lucas, scrambled eggs and toast, while he scrolled through his phone at the kitchen table. He barely looked up when I set the plate in front of him. I said, "Your mom left early." Lucas mumbled through a mouthful of eggs. She texted me. Said she had a morning meeting with Craig. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. On a Sunday. He shrugged. I guess. Sunday morning meetings weren't standard procedure at Bridgeport Logistics. Hell, they weren't procedure at all unless something was on fire. But I didn't press Lucas. The kid didn't need to be dragged into whatever was unfolding between his parents. After he left for his friend's house, I opened my laptop and did what I do best. Research. I started with Bridgeport Logistics Employee Handbook, publicly available on their careers page. Section 4.7, Workplace Conduct and Professional Boundaries. It read like every other corporate policy document. Vague language about maintaining appropriate relationships, avoiding conflicts of interest, and representing the company with integrity at all official and unofficial company-sponsored events. Then I found the real gold, a press release from 6 months ago. Bridgeport Logistics had signed a workplace ethics and accountability pledge, complete with signatures from the CEO, the board of directors, and several VPs, including Craig. The pledge specifically mentioned zero tolerance for behavior that could be perceived as harassment, favoritism, or abuse of power dynamics, especially at company-sponsored events. Company-sponsored events. I pulled up the invitation Diane had forwarded me 3 weeks ago. Right there at the bottom, in small print. This event is hosted by Bridgeport Logistics as part of our Q3 Team Excellence Initiative. Attendance is encouraged for all operations department leadership and their families. Official. Documented. On the record. I opened a new document and started building a timeline. The pool party. Craig's hands. Diane's shout. The reactions of the crowd. Laura's comment. Every detail mattered because details were what separated accusations from evidence. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I logged into our joint bank account and started reviewing transactions. Nothing unusual at first, just the normal flow of bills, groceries, gas. But then I noticed something odd. 3 separate transfers over the past 4 months, each for $2,500, from our joint account to an account I didn't recognize. The memo line on each one read, Investment, CR Ventures. CR Ventures. Craig's initials. I sat back, staring at the screen. $7,500, moved without my knowledge or consent, to something connected to my wife's boss. I opened a new tab and searched for CR Ventures. Nothing. No business registration, no LLC filings, no website. It didn't exist, at least not officially. I grabbed my phone and called an old colleague, Beth, who worked in financial fraud investigation. She answered on the second ring. Trevor Hammond. It's been a while. I said, I need a favor. Off the books. Can you trace an account number for me? Beth replied, How off the books are we talking? I told her, the kind where you don't ask questions and I owe you dinner. She laughed. Send me the details. Give me 48 hours. I hung up and stared at the screen again. The money. The party. The shouting. The meeting this morning. Pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve, but couldn't ignore. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. I typed back. Okay. Then I opened the video again and watched it one more time. Not for anger, but for clarity. Because whatever was happening, it was bigger than a drunken moment at a pool party. And I was going to find out exactly how big. Monday started with silence. Diane had come home after midnight, slipped into bed without waking me, and left again before dawn. I found a sticky note on the coffee maker. Crazy week. Conference call with the CEO. Talk later. Talk later. Like we were roommates, coordinating schedules, not spouses navigating whatever the hell was happening between us. I dropped Lucas at school, came home, and opened my laptop. Beth's email was waiting. Found something. Call me. I dialed. She picked up immediately. Beth said, Your CR Ventures account? It's a personal checking account under Craig Ward's name. Opened 14 months ago. Your wife's transfers aren't the only deposits. There are 5 other contributors, all in similar amounts. Looks like some kind of pooled investment fund, but there's no legal structure, no partnership agreement, no documentation. I asked, What's the money being used for? Beth replied, That's where it gets interesting. Most of it went toward a down payment on a property in the Bahamas. A beachfront condo in Nassau, purchased 8 months ago under an LLC registered award. The other contributors, including your wife, are listed as beneficiaries. I felt my jaw tighten. She bought property with her boss. In the Bahamas. Beth said, carefully, she invested in property with her boss. Whether she knew what she was buying into, I can't tell you. But Trevor, this setup screams tax evasion or worse. If the IRS takes an interest, everyone involved is going down. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in silence for a long time. Then I pulled up the video from the pool party and watched it again. Not with anger now, but with the cold calculation of someone building a case. Diane wasn't just crossing professional boundaries. She was entangled financially with Craig in ways that could destroy both of their careers and possibly land her in legal trouble. And she'd done it all without telling me. I opened a new email draft. No greeting, no preamble. Just facts. Subject: hostile work environment. Incident documentation. Body: attached is video footage from the August 14th company-sponsored event at the residence of Craig Ward, VP of Logistics. The individuals depicted are senior leadership and subordinate employees. The behavior captured appears to violate Section 4.7 of the Bridgeport Logistics Employee Handbook, as well as the workplace ethics and accountability pledge signed by executive leadership in February of this year. The event was documented as an official company function. I trust this will be reviewed in accordance with your internal policies. I attached the video, added HR to the recipient line, CC'd the legal department, BCC'd Daniel Foster, a board member I'd helped during a quiet audit 3 years ago when his division was hemorrhaging money through vendor fraud. He owed me a favor, and this was the kind of favor that paid dividends. My finger hovered over the send button for 30 seconds. This wasn't just sending an email. This was detonating a bomb under my wife's career, under Craig's empire, under everything she'd built. But she'd made her choices. The pool party, the money, the lies. I clicked send. The email whooshed out of my drafts folder and into the digital ether. No confirmation, no reply, just silence. I closed the laptop, poured myself a scotch even though it was barely noon, and sat by the window. Somewhere in the Bridgeport Logistics corporate office, an email had just landed in 5 inboxes. And within the hour, people were going to start making phone calls. Diane texted me at 1:47 p.m. Weird vibe at work today. HR asking questions about the party. Did someone complain? I typed back, no idea. Hope it's nothing serious. She replied, yeah, me too. I set my phone down and took another sip of scotch. She had no idea what was coming. No idea that the walls were already closing in, that her crazy week was about to get a whole lot crazier. And I felt nothing. No guilt, no satisfaction, just the quiet certainty that I'd done exactly what needed to be done. The call came Tuesday afternoon. I was reviewing a client's expense reports when my phone lit up with Sophia's name. She never called during the day, always texted. I answered immediately. Dad, Sophia said, her voice tight, controlled. I need to send you something. Don't open it until you're alone. I asked, what's wrong? She replied, just promise me you'll look at it. And Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. The line went dead. 2 minutes later, a file appeared in my messages. Video file, 47 seconds long. I closed my laptop, went to my home office, shut the door, and pressed play. The footage was grainy, shot from inside a car. The angle was awkward, like someone had propped their phone against the dashboard. But the image was clear enough. Craig's black Mercedes, parked in a lot behind Bridgeport Logistics' main building. Late evening, the parking lot mostly empty, streetlights casting orange pools across the asphalt. The driver's side door opened. Craig stepped out, straightened his tie, looked around. Then the passenger door opened, and Diane emerged. She smoothed her skirt, checked her reflection in the car window, and turned toward Craig. He said something I couldn't hear. She laughed, leaned in, and kissed him. Not a quick peck. A real kiss, the kind that lasted 5 seconds too long. When they separated, Craig's hand lingered on her waist. Diane touched his chest, said something, and walked toward her own car parked 3 spaces over. Craig watched her go, then got back in his Mercedes and drove away. The timestamp on the video read August 7th, 9:43 p.m., 1 week before the pool party. I watched it twice more, then called Sophia back. She answered on the first ring. I said, where did you get this? Sophia's voice wavered. I was home for the weekend. Remember? Mom said she had to run to the office to grab some files. I was bored, so I drove over to meet her for dinner. I saw Craig's car and thought maybe they were both working late. I parked and was about to text her when I saw them come out. I started recording without really thinking. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. I asked, why didn't you tell me then? She said quietly, because I didn't want it to be real, Dad. I thought maybe it was a one-time thing, a mistake. But then I saw the post from the pool party, and everyone was laughing about Mom and Craig, and I realized it wasn't a mistake. It's been going on for a while, hasn't it? I didn't answer right away. Just stared at the frozen image on my screen, Diane's hand on Craig's chest, his face angled toward hers. I finally said, yes, sweetheart. I think it has. Sophia asked, what are you going to do? I replied, I don't know yet. But Sophia, thank you for sending this. I know it wasn't easy. She said, her voice breaking slightly, I love you, Dad. I just want you to be okay. I told her, I will be. I promise. After we hung up, I sat in the office for a long time, staring at nothing. Then I created a new folder on my laptop. Evidence, comprehensive. I moved the pool party video into it. Added Sophia's footage. pulled in the financial records Beth had sent me. Bank transfers, property documents, everything. I wasn't just building a case against Diane's behavior at a company event anymore. I was documenting an affair, financial fraud, and a pattern of deception that stretched back months. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. HR wants to meet with me tomorrow morning. They said it's routine. Do you know anything about this? I typed back, no. Good luck. She replied, thanks. Love you. I stared at those last two words for a long time. Then I deleted the message and went back to organizing my files. Wednesday morning, I got a call from Daniel Foster, the board member I'd BCC'd on the email. His voice was calm, measured, the tone of a man who'd seen every corporate scandal imaginable and wasn't impressed by any of them. Daniel said, Trevor, I received your documentation. I've reviewed the footage, cross-referenced it with company policy, and consulted with our legal team. I replied, and he continued, and you've handed us a textbook case of leadership misconduct at a company-sponsored event. The video alone would be enough to trigger an investigation. But the financial entanglement you uncovered, that's where this gets serious. Craig Ward has been using an unofficial investment vehicle to funnel money from subordinates, including your wife, into personal real estate ventures. That's not just unethical, it's potentially illegal. I asked, what happens now? Daniel said, we're initiating a full audit of Craig's financial activities within the company. HR is conducting interviews with everyone who attended the pool party. Your wife will be questioned extensively, both about the incident and about her financial relationship with Craig. If she's cooperative and transparent, she might walk away with a reprimand. If she's not, this could end her career. I sat back in my chair. I didn't send that email to destroy her, Daniel. I sent it because what happened at that party was wrong, and I needed someone to see it. Daniel replied, I understand. But Trevor, once you put something like this in motion, you don't control where it goes. This investigation is going to uncover things you might not want to know. Are you prepared for that? I said, I found video of my wife kissing Craig in a parking lot a week before the pool party. My daughter recorded it. So yeah, I'm prepared. There was a pause. Then Daniel said quietly, I'm sorry, Trevor. Truly. But if you have additional evidence, you need to preserve it. Don't send it to me yet. Just keep it secure. If the investigation expands, it may become relevant. I told him, already done. Daniel said, good. One more thing. The company is considering hiring an external compliance consultant to oversee the ethics review process. Your name came up. Would you be interested? I blinked. You want me to consult on an investigation into my own wife? He replied, I want someone who understands the stakes and won't be influenced by internal politics. You built the case that exposed this. You're exactly the kind of person we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Think about it. He hung up before I could respond. I sat at my desk, staring at the phone. An hour ago, I was a betrayed husband documenting his wife's affair. Now I was being offered a position that would put me directly in the center of the storm I'd created. My phone buzzed. Diane calling. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. Trevor, something's wrong. HR isn't being straight with me. They asked about Craig, about money, about the party. I don't know what's happening, but I'm scared. Please call me back. I listened to the message twice. Her voice, strained and afraid. Nothing like the confident woman who'd ridden Craig's shoulders for days ago. I deleted the voicemail and opened my email. Started drafting a response to Daniel Foster. Subject: Compliance consultant position. Body: I'm interested. When do we start? I hit send. Diane came home Friday night. I heard her car pull into the driveway around 8 p.m., the engine idling for a full minute before she finally cut it off. When she walked through the door, she looked like someone who'd been through a war. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup, blazer wrinkled, eyes red and swollen. She dropped her purse on the floor and said, We need to talk. I was sitting in the living room, laptop open, reviewing the compliance protocols Daniel had sent me. I closed it slowly and looked at her. I said, Okay. Diane sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped between her knees, staring at the floor. They suspended me, effective immediately, pending the outcome of the investigation. I replied, I heard. She looked up sharply. You heard? From who? I said evenly, Does it matter? She stared at me for a long moment. Then her face shifted from confusion to realization. It was you. You sent that video to HR. I didn't deny it. Just met her eyes and waited. Diane's voice rose. How could you? Do you have any idea what you've done? They're investigating me. Trevor. Me. Not just Craig, but me. They're asking about money, about trips, about every single interaction I've had with him for the past year. They think I'm involved in some kind of fraud scheme. I asked calmly, Are you? She stood up, pacing now. It was an investment opportunity. Craig said it was a way to build wealth outside of our salaries. He had connections in the Bahamas, property deals that could triple our money in 5 years. I put in $7,500. That's it. That's all. I said, You put in our money, without telling me, into a venture with your boss that has no legal documentation and violates about 6 different company policies. Diane snapped. I was trying to secure our future. Sophia's tuition isn't getting cheaper. Lucas will be in college in 2 years. I was thinking about this family. I replied, You were thinking about yourself. And Craig. She stopped pacing, turned to face me. Her voice dropped. What do you want me to say, Trevor? That I made a mistake? Fine. I made a mistake. I trusted the wrong person. I got too close to someone at work. But I didn't do anything illegal. I asked, Did you sleep with him? The question hung in the air like smoke. Diane's mouth opened, closed, opened again. What? I pulled out my phone, opened the video Sophia had sent, and held it up. August 7th, parking lot behind your office. You and Craig. I have about 47 seconds of footage that says you did more than just invest money with him. She watched the video, her face draining of color. When it ended, she sat back down heavily. Where did you get that? I said, Sophia. She was coming to meet you for dinner and saw you with him. Diane's hands went to her face. Oh my God. Sophia saw that. I replied, She recorded it. And she sent it to me because she didn't know what else to do. Our daughter has been carrying that around for over a week, trying to decide whether to protect you or tell me the truth. You put her in that position, Diane. Not me. She was crying now, hands shaking. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was one kiss. One stupid moment after a late meeting. We'd been drinking. It didn't mean anything. I asked again, slower this time. Did you sleep with him? Diane looked up, tears streaming down her face. No. I swear to God, Trevor, I didn't. That kiss was the only time anything physical happened. I pulled away after. Told him it couldn't happen again. And it didn't. I want to believe her. Some part of me, the part that still remembered the woman I married 20 years ago, wanted to take her word for it. But I'd seen the bank statements, read the employee handbook violations, watch her climb onto Craig's shoulders and scream about real men in front of 50 people. I said quietly, I don't know if I believe you. She sobbed harder. I'm telling the truth. Please, Trevor. I made mistakes. I crossed lines I shouldn't have. But I didn't cheat on you. Not like that. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the darkening street. Daniel Foster offered me a job. Compliance consultant for the company. They wanted to help oversee the ethics review. Diane's voice was barely a whisper. You're going to investigate me? I turned back to her. I'm going to make sure the investigation is fair. That's all. She asked, desperation creeping in. Can you help me? Can you tell them I didn't do anything wrong? I replied, I can't tell them anything that isn't true. If you didn't do anything wrong, the investigation will clear you. If you did, then you'll face the consequences. Diane stood, walked toward me. Trevor, please. I'm begging you. Don't let them destroy me over this. I said, You destroyed yourself. I just made sure someone was watching. Saturday morning, I got a call from my younger brother Kyle. He lived in Houston, worked in commercial construction, hadn't visited in over a year. We talked maybe once every 2 months, usually about sports or Dad's health. So when his name lit up my phone at 7 a.m., I knew something was off. I answered, Kyle, everything okay? He said, Sophia called me last night, told me what's been going on. About Diane, about that video, about all of it. I sighed. She shouldn't have dragged you into this. Kyle replied, his voice hard. She didn't drag me anywhere. She's scared, Trevor. She thinks her family's falling apart, and she doesn't know how to fix it. So yeah, she called her uncle. And now I'm calling you. I said, I'm handling it. He said, Are you? Because from what I'm hearing, you're handling it like an accountant. All quiet and methodical and cold. But Trevor, this isn't a balance sheet. This is your marriage. Your wife screwed around with her boss, humiliated you in front of people, and now you're what? joining the company that's investigating her. I replied, I'm making sure the truth comes out. Kyle's voice dropped. You want the truth? I'll give you the truth. You're a good man, better than most. You've supported Diane through every promotion, every move, every late night at the office. And she repaid you by treating you like a doormat. So here's what I'm offering. I can be in Stanford by Monday. We can have a conversation with Craig Ward, the kind where he understands that touching another man's wife has consequences beyond an HR report. I said firmly, no, that's not how this works. Kyle shot back. Then how does it work, Trevor? You send emails and collect evidence while your wife's out there telling people you're paranoid? You think Craig's losing sleep over this? Guys like him don't learn from paperwork. They learn from pain. I said, if you touch Craig, you'll go to jail. And I'll have to explain to Sophia and Lucas why their uncle is in prison because he couldn't control his temper. Kyle was quiet for a moment. Then he said, you're right. I'm sorry. I just hate seeing you go through this. You deserve better. I replied, I know, and I'm getting better. Just not the way you're thinking. He asked, what's that mean? I said, it means I'm not fighting Craig with fists. I'm fighting him with the system he thought would protect him. And I'm winning. Kyle said slowly, you really think that's enough? I told him, it has to be. Because if I do this your way, I lose everything. If I do it my way, Craig loses everything and I walk away clean. He sighed. All right, big brother. But if you change your mind, I'm one phone call away. I said I won't. But thanks. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen for a while, thinking about what Kyle had said. Part of me, a small dark part, wanted to take him up on his offer. Wanted to drive to Craig's house and make him feel a fraction of the humiliation I'd felt watching that video. But that wasn't who I was. I didn't solve problems with violence. I solved them with strategy. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel Foster. Board meeting Monday at 9 a.m. They want you there to present your findings so far. Are you ready? I typed back, I'll be ready. Then I opened my laptop and started preparing the presentation that would end Craig Ward's career. Monday morning, I walked into Bridgeport Logistics executive conference room, carrying a leather portfolio and a flash drive containing 2 years of research. The board was already seated. Daniel Foster, 3 other board members I'd met once at a company dinner, the CEO Margaret Solis, and the chief legal counsel. No Craig, no Diane, just me and the people who held the keys to the company's future. Daniel gestured to the seat at the head of the table. Trevor, thank you for coming. We've reviewed your initial documentation, and frankly, what you uncovered goes deeper than we anticipated. We'd like you to walk us through your findings. I connected my laptop to the projector and pulled up the first slide. What began as documentation of inappropriate behavior at a company-sponsored event has evolved into evidence of systematic policy violations, financial impropriety, and abuse of power dynamics. I clicked to the next slide, showing the pool party video still frame. August 14th, VP of Logistics Craig Ward and Operations Director Diane Hammond at an official company function. This moment, captured on video and witnessed by approximately 50 employees, clients, and family members, represents a clear violation of Section 4.7 of your employee handbook regarding professional conduct. Margaret, the CEO, leaned forward. We've seen the video. What we need to understand is the scope of the relationship. I advanced to the next slide, showing the bank transfer records. Over 14 months, Craig Ward operated an unregistered investment entity called CR Ventures. He solicited funds from 6 subordinate employees, including my wife, totaling $43,000. Those funds were used to purchase a beachfront property in Nassau, Bahamas, with no legal partnership agreement, no disclosure to the company, and no documentation of the investment terms. The chief legal counsel spoke up. That's securities fraud. And if he was using his position to solicit these investments from subordinates, it's also abuse of authority. I nodded. Correct. I've documented all 6 investors, their positions within the company, and their reporting relationships to Craig. 5 of the 6 report directly to him. The 6th, my wife, collaborated with him on operational decisions that affected her department's budget allocations. I clicked to the next slide, showing the parking lot video Sophia had recorded. August 7th, 1 week before the pool party. Craig Ward and Diane Hammond, captured on video in a parking lot at 9:43 p.m., engaged in behavior that suggests their relationship extended beyond professional boundaries. The room was silent. Margaret's expression was stone. Daniel looked at me with something like pity. I continued, I'm not here to prosecute my wife. I'm here to ensure that the patterns of behavior Craig Ward established are dismantled so they can't happen again. He created an environment where subordinates felt pressured to invest personal funds in his ventures, where professional boundaries were blurred, and where company events became opportunities for displays that made employees uncomfortable. Margaret asked, What do you recommend? I said, Terminate Craig Ward immediately for cause. Initiate a full forensic audit of all department budgets under his oversight. Implement mandatory ethics training for all leadership. And establish an independent compliance hotline so employees can report concerns without fear of retaliation. Daniel added, And what about your wife? I met his eyes. Diane violated company policy. She made poor decisions. But she was also operating in an environment where her superior normalized inappropriate behavior. I recommend a suspension without pay, mandatory ethics training, and reassignment to a different department with no reporting relationship to senior leadership. She needs consequences, but she also needs a chance to rebuild her career the right way. Margaret said, That's remarkably fair, considering the circumstances. I replied, I'm not interested in revenge. I'm interested in accountability. The board voted unanimously. Craig Ward was terminated effective immediately, his benefits forfeited, and a criminal referral was made to the State Attorney General's office regarding the investment scheme. Diane would be suspended for 6 months without pay, required to repay her investment to the company, and reassigned upon her return. As I walked out of the building, Daniel caught up with me in the parking lot. You did the right thing, Trevor. Not many men could have handled this with the integrity you showed. I said, I didn't have a choice. Once I saw what was happening, I couldn't unsee it. He replied, The board approved your consulting contract. Effective immediately. Welcome to the team. I shook his hand, got in my car, and drove home. When I pulled into the driveway, Diane's car was gone. On the kitchen table was an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a handwritten note. I'm staying with my sister for a while. I don't know how to fix this, or if I even can, but you were right about everything. I'm sorry. D. I folded the note, set it aside, and called Sophia. When she answered, I said, It's over. Craig's gone. Your mom's suspended. And I'm okay. Sophia said quietly, Are we okay? As a family. I replied, I don't know yet, sweetheart, but we will be, one way or another. 8 months later, I sat in my new office at Bridgeport Logistics, reviewing the quarterly ethics compliance report. The walls were bare except for a framed photograph of Sophia and Lucas from last Christmas. My title was Director of Corporate Ethics and Compliance, a position the board had created specifically for me after the Craig Ward investigation wrapped up. Craig himself had pled guilty to securities fraud and was serving 18 months in a minimum security facility in Pennsylvania. 5 of the 6 investors had been repaid in full through asset seizure. The 6th, Diane, had repaid her portion through wage garnishment from her new job. She'd moved out permanently in October, rented a small apartment in Norwalk, and taken a position as a logistics coordinator at a smaller firm. A demotion, a pay cut, and a daily reminder of what she'd lost. We were separated, not divorced. Lucas had asked me not to file yet, said he wasn't ready. I agreed to wait. Sophia called me every Sunday from college. She was thriving at UConn, making friends, joining clubs, talking about law school. She'd forgiven her mother, or at least started to. They had lunch once a month. I never asked what they talked about. Lucas was doing better. The divorce talk had hit him hard initially, but he found an outlet in robotics club and a good therapist who helped him process everything. He stayed with me during the week, with Diane on weekends. We made it work. As for me, I'd become exactly what the board needed, a watchdog with no emotional investment in internal politics, someone who'd already lost everything and couldn't be threatened or bought. I'd implemented new policies, trained 200 employees, and fielded dozens of ethics complaints through the new hotline. Most were minor. A few weren't. I handled them all the same way, methodically, fairly, and without mercy for those who thought rules didn't apply to them. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Lucas told me you got the director title. Congratulations. You earned it. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, Thank you. She replied, "Do you think we'll ever be okay again? You and me." I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the woman I'd married 20 years ago, the pool party, the lies, the heartbreak, the slow reconstruction of a life I'd thought was solid. I typed, "I don't know, but I hope so. For the kids." She sent back a heart emoji. I didn't respond. I closed my phone, turned back to my computer, and continued working. Because this was my life now. Not the one I'd planned, not the one I'd wanted, but the one I'd built from the ruins of everything I'd lost. And somehow, that was enough.